Engaging story, where the fairy tale ends and real life begins.
In saying all that, it led me to a place of being able to walk away from the Newsboys world, but knowing that I was going to be walking into a new world of adventure. I didn't know what it was.
Love stories with practical ways to strengthen your relationship.
People thought we were nuts and did not get it. And I have to say that was literally the bravest, coolest, most amazing thing ever. And it just literally changed the course of our lives.
Strengthening your marriage, one story at a time.
And it really fueled an appetite, you know, like, oh, this is, okay, let's keep doing this. What's God going to say to us tomorrow?
Now this is Engaging Story.
This is Matt.
This is Becca.
Imagine this. You are at the top of your career, but for the sake of your marriage and your family, you decide to quit. That is the story of today's guest.
Today we speak with Phil and Heather Joel as they talk about marriage, leaving the band and starting a new band, to now rejoining the Newsboys 12 years later for a tour, and how communication, their walk with the Lord, and putting family first has changed dramatically since they first began.
Becca, what was one of your favorite stories or key messages in this episode?
I really thought it was amazing how they talk about early in the relationship how important going into hibernation mode is.
Our son agrees.
Which can mean really just putting the other person in your marriage first, limiting the time that you spend with your other family and friends, and making sure that you close up those Facebook, Instagram accounts at night, and that you're just on the couch or in bed really getting to know your partner, talking, praying together.
Yeah, that was probably the most convicting part of the episode for me.
Yeah.
Is Phil's, if you Google Phil Joel, you'll probably find a video or a blog about how he has no social media, which is completely crazy, quote unquote, in the music industry. And you get to hear the story and the reasoning behind why he doesn't have social media in his life and why his family actually doesn't do much social media.
But in the beginning of their marriage, they talk about how it's so important just to not be on social media for every couple, because it's just a distraction.
A comparison game,
well,
too.
It just eats your time away so easily. Even if it's not comparison, you can just be flipping through and here's 10, 15, 20 minutes. And in that same time, you could be making love to your spouse. You could be talking about your day. You could be even working on a budget. You could just be investing in each other, and how just the first 2 to 3 years are so important to building a strong foundation together.
Yeah, and today, also on the episode, we get to hear the events that led up to Phil making the big decision to leave the Newsboys. So we recorded this episode about 6 months ago, and since then, Phil has had some fun stuff happening with his music career. He recently released a new album with his band Zealand Worship. And he is currently touring with the Newsboys again, singing his new music, and then going on stage with the Newsboys and playing some classics. We always kick off each episode with the couple sharing a significant song in their life. Today's song has a little story behind it.
When we started dating, Heather sent me a CD. She said, hey, listen to this guy. He's really cool. And I was familiar with one of his big hits. But further down on that record, there was a song called True Companion, which was just awesome, and still is just an amazing kind of love song. But it's about true companion. It's about marriage, really. It's about meeting and becoming married, and then walking down that road and growing old, and it's just together, and it's a beautiful song.
I've got this vision of a girl in white, made my decision that it's you, alright. When I take your hand, I watch my heart set sail. I'll take my trembling finger and I'll lift up your...
Tell us how you guys met.
Well, it's funny that you would work at a radio station, Matt, because that's where Heather and I met. We met at a radio station in Wichita, Kansas. She just graduated college and was trying to figure out what she wanted to do. I'm sorry, I'm telling your side of the story, right? But she was working at 99 FM, and we were on tour with, I was with Newsboys, of course, and actually, I'd only just arrived in the country. I hadn't been here long, 5 weeks, and we were on tour with Stephen Curtis Chapman, opening for him. And there we were in Wichita. And I remember I was 21, and my life pretty much revolved around my bass guitar and my skateboard at that point. So I was out there in this van, I was riding my skateboard, and this van rolls up, door opens, and it's two guys from the band. And they say, come with us, we're going to do an interview at the radio station. So off we go. We go to the radio station, climb up the stairs. And I mean, this is all really vivid in my memory. And into the radio station, and we're greeted by the receptionist, which is Heather. And it's a pretty girl. Okay. And she walks us through to the reception, to the little room to do the interview. And there are two microphones, and it's a really small room, and there are two little seats, and so there are three of us. So one of us had to go and sit out in the reception area, and so I volunteered, which was very nice of me, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I volunteered, and so I went out and sat there and sort of struck up a conversation, and she was really funny. She was just funny and lighthearted and really, I'd never met anyone like her. I was kind of smitten straight away.
I had never probably seen anybody quite like him, and he was so crazy and fun.
I was wearing my big bell bottoms, and there she is looking all zipped up and very professional. And I said, hey, why don't you come back to the venue, come to the show early. Catering will be really good, and I can show you around a little bit. You can maybe eat dinner there, and then you can go and find your seat. I was fairly forward, I wasn't going to just, I don't know, let it go. But I wasn't too forward, was I?
No, it was good. I came from the, never call a boy. So I was like, oh, well, I'm
cool.
I was totally, I didn't want to overdo my enthusiasm. So,
but you know what I did? I gave her my laminate, my backstage pass off, and I said, hey, take this. This will help. And I needed that thing, it was kind of important to me. And so here we were, sitting around waiting, dinner time went by. The guys knew that, that this girl might be coming and to be polite and all that, because this wasn't something that I did ever. So anyway, she didn't turn up. She didn't turn up, and which is cool.
Because I felt like I would have been too forward to turn up into that situation.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Sometimes too cool is too cool, man. Anyway, so she turned up. So we did the show and everything. And anyway, I come back out after the show, and we're sort of meeting people, and the crowd sort of thins, and the band will go back to the dressing room. And I think, I've just got to wait 5 minutes more. And sure enough, I see her, and she's walking toward me from the other side of the hall. I remember this so clearly. But she's walking toward me with this tall, dark, and handsome guy. I'm thinking, of course, why I'm such a chump. Of course she's got this handsome boyfriend, whatever. There he is. And so they turn up, and she says, hey. I say hi again. She says, hey, I'd like you to meet Ashley. Hi, Ashley. This is my brother, Ashley. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, she says, okay, well, I will, it was nice meeting you. I will see you later.
But I was totally into him. I was super into him.
We shake hands, whatever, and they leave. And they're walking out the door, and I'm watching her leave. We're in Wichita, Kansas. I don't have a cell phone. Email hasn't been invented yet. She walks out. I'm thinking, there she goes. What am I going to do? She just left. And, I can't chase her, and what am I going to say? Hey, let's go to Waffle House. I don't know what to. But right beside the double doors where she walked out was a phone booth, and there were the phone books, the yellow pages and the white pages. And I'm thinking, of course, Light 99 FM. Okay, I can do this. So I went to the phone book, and I opened up radio pages, and when no one was looking, I did just like in the movies. Ripped the page, folded it up. Thus began my stalking journey.
Next day at the radio station.
And being on the road, I didn't realize it was Sunday.
That's true.
And of course, somebody else answered, and I was asking for Heather, and they were like very protective. They weren't going to give me a number or anything. And the next day, you turned up at work, right? And they said some weird foreigner was trying to call you.
So he called me the next work day and I picked up the phone, and he said, "Is Heather there?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. So I started phoning. We started phoning and writing letters. Which. Looking back on it, it's so funny now, But I didn't have a cell phone. I had a big bag of quarters, big Ziploc bag of quarters, and whenever the bus pulled into gas up or whatever at a truck stop, I would find a payphone, put all the coins in, and call her in Wichita from wherever I was.
This is a side note. For our 20-year anniversary, he gave me the phone book page in a frame that he had torn out.
With the laminate.
With the laminate from the concert.
Like in a...
Isn't that awesome? So you can have it. Isn't that the sweetest thing?
I love that. And I know, I think it's really cool. God can do whatever he wants, bring a guy 10,000 miles across the world. I was interested in being in a band and riding my skateboard and I don't know what else, but I didn't feel like I was in that space. I was in the market or whatever. I was 21. I was a kid, but there she was. And I was like, whoa, hang on. It wasn't just this whatever physical attraction. There was something there. And I thought, I need to make a move, And I wasn't really a shaker, but I just kind of had to make a move.
Carpe diem, baby.
Carpe diem, yeah.
So how long did you guys do the long distance dating?
I didn't see her again for another 4 or 5 months.
The plan was to move to Nashville. So after we started talking...
So that's kind of the premise of our phone calls, is to start with, well, I know you're going to move to Nashville at some point, or you're going to come visit, so maybe we can hang out and, I can show you around and all that kind of thing. And what happened? I showed her around and she got a job.
It was kind of instantaneous. We hadn't seen each other. It was January. So we met in September and it was January, actually Phil's birthday. And so we were so excited because I knew, I was like, okay, I really like him, but I cannot remember what he looks like. I know he has like long hair and that I thought he was
Google
cute.
Me at that point. There's no Google.
Yeah. Nothing. And he wasn't in the band.
We're so old.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
He wasn't like all of their press photos and things, like he wasn't in any of them because he had just moved there.
I just joined the band.
Yeah, just joined. And so like I knew, I thought he was cute. But
I was in one music video at the very end.
Yeah, there's a song called Shine, and it was like one of their first videos, and he was on the very end, and that's the only thing. But I couldn't see him very well, so I'd sit there and like pause it and rewind it. It was like a stick, but I couldn't really tell what he looked like from it. So anyway, I was on the plane and I was like, Lord, I really like him, but what if just like please make me like think he was as cute as I thought he was. And so I was super excited. So I was super attracted to him. But anyway, all of those things started kind of just quickly coming together. And literally that day we kind of knew.
Yeah, we kind of did.
We kind of knew that day on his birthday. And so Phil's like,
you know what, we should tell this part of the story. I think it's really fun. We ended up getting into a conversation that night. We were going to go to the movies. We got there early. We got the times muddled up. So we sat in the car and just talked. And we talked about our backgrounds and ideas about certain things and whatnot. And I don't know, it was a weird conversation. It was kind of a heavy conversation. It was a little, I don't know, it wasn't comfortable. We both went into the movies kind of a little unsettled, like, I don't know if we know each other very well.
Yeah. Well, we didn't.
Who knows? Take it easy. We got into the movies, and the movie was Dumb and Dumber.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Oh, no.
That movie. It's a great movie. It's so funny. And so we sat there and just, like, dug our hands into one another, like knees or whatever, just, like, laughing so hard, and just got the sense that we came out of that movie like, you know what? I think we're going to be married. I think we're going to get married.
I know, it was the weirdest thing.
It was the weirdest thing. We just, like, maybe some of the stuff that was,
felt heavy
in our conversation we just had, it got blown away through this movie and through laughing together. And we realized, the future is what's important, not the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of cool.
Yeah. And so from that same weekend, I got a job and I got a place to live in like the next day.
Because it did kind of escalate pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when it's right, it's just, you kind of know. And so, everyone back in New Zealand, well, great, the first American girl you meet, you're going to like marry her or what? What's going on here? And, yeah, pretty much.
Going into it, did you guys have expectations of what marriage was going to be like? And then you can maybe talk about that first year.
Well, our experience, everybody's like, well, be careful about the first year or two is really hard. And there were definitely challenges, but we were really surprised at how we were like, okay, it was almost discouraging hearing the advice from people telling us that it was going to be super hard.
Tough. Second year might even be tougher, but just hang in there. And so we kind of did with a little bit of that's not going to be our experience. And I think it was a good thing to have that sort of, it's not rebellion, but just like, no, I want to enjoy our first year. And And we did. We really did enjoy our first year of marriage. And so I remember getting through it going, that was awesome. That was fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. But I mean, we had unique things like our schedule. Like, I think at the time Newsboys was, they were out 200 and something days a year. I was working at the time. And that was definitely a challenge. That kind of during the week we'd be together and then he'd leave. And that was really, like, even now he'll go out on the weekends, and like on Thursday, if you leave on Friday, we're like, I don't want you to go. I hate that. Like, even last week, we were just, we had a hard time last week.
That's just the fact, sort of miss each other and that really stay connected in the midst of it.
But we've always, I would say, we've always found a way. We've always been each other's best friend. But you really have to fight for that. You have to fight to keep this at the top of the priority list. And I think we've learned that over the years, and we still do. And it's been, so we've, over all the things we've been through and all of the challenges and everything that's come our way, we have really, I mean, it's the Lord and some different things being part of that, but we really have, that's been our priority to keep our best friendship at the top of it, with God first, obviously. And then
we came up with a rule early on in our marriage, and I think it's really, really helpful. It's been very, very helpful. It's called the 100% rule, and the whole premise of it, I guess we started it really early on.
It's basically a different way of saying win-win. Like, we never, we always wait. So we always just go, all right, if you're not 100%, let's lay it down and keep going until we're both super excited. And every time it's a winner, and we've only not done it a couple times, and we've been like, shoot. Yeah.
And the same for me. I don't want her to resent me, and I don't want to strong arm her, and I don't want to even use the I'm the man, you do what I'm telling you type thing. That's just no good. That's not going to work. Whereas if guys are smart, they'll be tapping into who they are and what they're thinking, their wives are thinking, and their perspective, and say, how do you see this? What do you bring? Help me make this decision. Let's make this decision together. I'm not some evil dictator here that's just going to tell us how to do, just strong arm our way through it. I need the teamship here. And if I don't invite her into all of these decisions, we're not making these things together. I'm foolish, and I think I get ripped off. And if I go ahead and make decisions of consequence without her and her thinking, then I'm approaching the decision-making process as I'm limping. I'm limping into it. I'm not really complete. Wow.
And I would say, as a woman, as a wife, just the value that places on me is a really cool thing, to know that he values my thoughts.
We'll get right back into the episode, but first we want to take a quick break. We've got our special guest, our daughter Reese, here to tell you about Deliberate Kids. Deliberate Kids is a fun thing that Phil and Heather Joel put together. It's got music, it's a family devotional, and it's a game. And Reese, you love the music. In fact, we've got some audio of you singing it.
And there's activities.
Activities like what?
I think you can read Goliath on here, and you can be, I think, him, and you can blow up your muscles with balloons, which is fun activities, and it says that there's also recipes and stuff.
Can you tell me about the game, the card game they have? How
The
does
card
it
game?
work?
So a kid pulls out the card and asks things. So, the question. So, I'm going to ask my mom this. Do you remember the first street you lived on?
I do remember the first street that I lived on.
It's like 21 questions with parents. Parents are on the hot seat. Well, if you want to learn more about Deliberate Kids, get your CD, devotional, and game. You can find out more at our website, engagingstory.com. In fact,
all the different things you can do.
Oh shoot.
On here, there's like different things. So it talks about like a plan, which I think that was it was from. Oh yeah, we made personal plain pizzas. I think that was it. And it's just like there's a plan, strong and courageous, armor of God. Don't forget to remember. And I think that's one of the songs, like don't forget to remember. And then there's an Old Testament and New Testament. Oh, and I think, wait. Oh, these I think are the songs. Yeah, these are the songs. Love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control.
out control. Fill me up till I overflow. Fill me up till I overflow. Fill me up till I overflow.
We're about ready to enter into part 2 of the episode, and Phil and Heather are going to be sharing about the importance of God's word and scripture in their life. And Becca and I agree 100% your marriage should be founded on God's word, which is why we have created our engaging story Bible verse art. And Becca, being the designer in the family, can you describe what this Bible art looks like?
Oh, yes. It is beautiful scriptures that are laid out on canvas. We have taken pictures of different verses in the Bible and have underlined them, and we hang them now on our wall. Different ones that encourage us for our marriage, for our family.
We've actually taken our wedding photos
Yes.
and we surround them with God's word and scriptures.
Definitely.
And so it's just a very symbolic way to show the importance of God's word in our home and of our marriage. And so if you want to check it
Definitely.
out, you can go to our website, engagingstory.com. There you can also find previous episodes and learn how you can subscribe so you never miss another episode. So you talked about communication, and I think there's obviously an interesting angle there. So you're on the road 260 days a year. That's definitely a hurdle to get through as far as when it comes to communication. So any wisdom that you have on how a married couple can keep the communication going strong? Because if you guys kept it going strong with that,
That was then. This is now.
Okay.
I'll never be away that long ever again. And, the God that we serve and the God that we follow is a seasonal God, and he'll walk us through seasons, and sometimes there'll be a grace on a season to do certain things, But and then when that grace lifts, you need to pay attention. This is not, we can't walk we're moving into a new season now. So that is really important. In the midst of those really busy seasons, though, and being away, obviously the cell phone is a big deal. It's been a really helpful tool in learning, make sure that we connect by phone. And men and women, there's something different about the way we sort of communicate, obviously, and connect on the when we're communicating. And sometimes I'll want to rush things. This is something I've learned, rush things. Okay, baby, everything good at home? Yeah, okay, all good, right. Well, I got to go to sound check. I can see that. And then I'll realize, I need to call her back. There's more she wanted to talk about. She doesn't feel connected to me right now. I mean, for me to touch base at home, that's almost like, okay, good, everything's great. Okay, back to work, and that might be enough for me. But for her, she needs a little more, she needs to roll me through some details, throw me through a thought process she's working through or whatever it is. And I have to be patient at different points. And that sounds kind of condescending, but I have to listen and go, okay, no, and connect. And to a point where she's like, all right, see you later, where she's ready to push the red button and hang up, because she's felt that there's been a connection there, and that's really important.
Yeah, and I would say backing it up into just season stuff. I mean, a lot of that season where Phil was gone that much was before we had kids. We would do everything that we could. I would try and go out on the road as much as possible, and I had another job at the time, and he would try where I was traveling, and he would come out on the road with me as much as possible. And there was this really awesome grace on that season in our lives, being kind of married but no kids. I mean, you have so much more freedom, and so that was kind of our little heyday in that time. But once kids entered the picture, that was definitely a big turning point for us on really reevaluating the season that we were in, and is this going to be healthy? And if you do the math on what's that equation going to look like down the road? And so God, when we started, we had our daughter Finley, who is 16 and a half, and our son Eden is getting ready to be 13. And it, those kind of little years when they're little guys, God really started changing our hearts and our perspective. And 16 years ago, we had like a big turning point, like a real line in the sand moment. But really, once the kids kind of got to this certain point where Finley, our daughter, was 6 and Eden was 3, it was just kind of one of those. The grace had definitely, it was either keep going and being away that long and do the math, and that's what we could likely be experiencing, or kind of make a huge, bold, crazy.
Yeah, what she's saying is at a certain point, Neil, when we realized the kids, they were very conscious of my presence or lack of, it was really important to make a decision. Okay, no, I need to be home, or there's no way that my son can learn how to trust me and know me and really walk with me and have me know him and understand him if I'm not present, if I'm really not in the room, you know. And these kids, they're it for me. You know, one day I'm going to have to stand before the Lord and go, hey, how did I steward that? And was I around? And I want my son to know God and know that he can trust God, know that God knows him, understands him. And so I'm the first indicator of that. So I need to be trustworthy. I need to be present. I need to be listening. And so the only way to do that is to I can't be away for 260 days. So that led me to make a pretty big move in handing in my notice to leave Newsboys and whatnot.
I ran so far. Will you take me back again?
But I was thinking about something else, though, as you were talking here. That early on, when we first got married, and I think it was an important thing, and someone pointed it out to me back then, and I think it's a very important thing now still for newlywed people. We kind of went into hibernation a little bit. You know what I mean? Other friendships definitely got pushed out to the side a little bit, and we just became all about one another. And it was kind of selfish, you know? But it was okay. I think it was okay because it was like our little hibernation time of really nurturing our relationship and becoming best buddies and getting to know one another. And now it concerns me a little bit with the prevalence of social media and the way that we have so many so-called, and I quote, friends and all these different voices. I think sometimes, it wouldn't be a bad idea for maybe newlyweds to kind of turn off a whole bunch of stuff in that first year and go, hey, we're going to focus on us, me and you, baby. We're going to get tight, strong, and we're going to take on the world. But we need to become superpowers, you know. And I think that was definitely our first couple of years, which really helped in our foundation building. And we were, I would say we were blessed in that we didn't grow up in the digital. Our marriage didn't grow up in the digital age with all the distractions that there are at the moment. So I don't know, you have to be very proactive in it in life. And as we continue to move through and there are different things coming at us, all of us, we sort of measure things up, you know. So I would encourage young marrieds to sort of measure what's going on, what they're spending their time on, and especially in those first few years, man, just cut it back, keep it simple. Time is really important. Anyway, where were we? I sort of digressed a little bit.
You quit your job.
Oh, I quit my job tonight.
Just a little life event.
People thought we were nuts and did not get it. And I have to say that was literally the bravest, coolest, most amazing thing ever. And it just literally changed the course of our lives. Phil's bravery was...
I don't know if it was that brave, you know. I mean, I didn't feel brave in it or courageous in it. We had really met the Lord in a new way, 5 years beforehand.
Yeah. In
the midst of Newsboys world, we had really just had a wild encounter with God that sort of changed our lives and set us on a new course of seeking God and filling ourselves with truth and really opening up our Bibles every day and wanting to meet with God. And it's still our practice. You know, we get up in the morning, every morning, come downstairs, get that good cup of coffee, Matt, you know, and get started meeting with God. We meet with him. It's kind of a non-negotiable. It's the first thing we do every day. Heather in the living room, me in another room, and we meet with the Lord. And so anyway, backing up the story, in doing that, God just changed us in lots of different ways, changed our value system, which is generally what happens when you really encounter Jesus, because it's the whole kingdom that he talks about. The values are in different places than the world's. So in saying all that, it led me to a place of being able to walk away from the Newsboys world, but knowing that I was going to be walking into a new world of adventure. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I wanted to maintain a healthy, strong marriage and be a present parent, you know. And so I'd rather do that in poverty, if that's what the Lord has for me, than lose all that stuff and maintain a big platform or whatever you want to call it. But God's faithful, man, and where he guides, he provides. I know that's kind of a cliche kind of saying, but it is so true. But it's kind of fun, and being able to, and having done that, and being a number of years on, being able to look back, it's helpful because I can now say to other men, hey, guys, you know, let's take a look at what you're spending your time on here. And if your career is taking you away from the most important things in your life, from your marriage, from your wife, and from your families, then, hey, be brave enough to maybe put it on the chopping block if you need to. Because if that's what God's calling you to, He'll look after you, you know. I read it the other day in Psalm 34. I was young and now I'm old, and I've never seen the children of a righteous man begging for bread, you know, which means, hey, God will take care of you. You just take care of your relationship with God, your relationship with your wife, and be responsible with those things, and God will take care of you. That's been my experience. You know, it's not just that I've read it in the Bible and I believe it. I believe it because it's been my experience too. So.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah,
Really
well, that's
good.
what's so cool is to hear. It's one thing just to say it, but it's another thing to live it, and then to be able to. That's why story is so powerful, because we listen to you, hear it, and it's like we can see it in your eye. Like, yeah, you believe
God's
it because God's done it. Like it's happened in your life, and it's a reality to you. It's not just I read this in the book, and I'm going to try this formula, and
Right.
You did it, and you saw God come through. So,
And all of the stuff, I think, you know, the reality, that's a really big word. All of the stuff begins with the reality of God in our lives. We honestly got married and we knew the Lord to a certain degree, and we loved God, and we grew up in the church, and here I was in the Newsboys and everything. But to be perfectly honest with you, the reality of God in our lives, the absolute reality, His presence, His person, knowing He's here, knowing He's speaking, communicating, knowing He's wanting to lead us through life, not just the Sunday stuff, not just in a big general sense, but specifically in a relationship type of way, that was missing. And it took Him getting us by the shoulders, giving us a good shaking, honestly, at a certain point, for us to realize that and begin to pursue Him in a new way. And honestly, practically what that looked like was we got pretty tenacious. We realized that we had kind of everything. I had this career with the Newsboys, traveling the world. Heather was on CMT. She had a TV show on country music television, so I could see her on TV. We had everything we were meant to have. You know, we had our first child, but we realized that there was more. And we kind of, which was really cool because, you know, I think sometimes people get to a point where they hit rock bottom and the only place to look is up. You know, the Lord didn't allow us to hit rock bottom, which is great. He actually got a hold of us before we hit rock bottom in any place, which is so kind and so gracious. And I believe that's His will for everybody. You know, but if we have to hit rock bottom before we sort of look in the right direction, which is up toward Him, He'll allow that. But I think He taps us on our shoulders constantly, saying, hey, I'm over here, pay attention. I want you to seek me. I want you to come draw near to me.
And I think for us, it looked like, I mean, it was kind of crazy. We even had a little white picket fence outside of our house, and it was
American dream.
Yeah. And it was the thing is we felt really empty, but we had everything that we were supposed to have, and we were only
20 something.
29.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if we felt, honestly, I don't know if I'm not correcting you on it, but I don't know if they felt completely empty. We were pretty full on all the things the world would offer. You know, we had, hey man, we kind of had, you know, we're going to the Grammys and she's on TV and I'm doing all that stuff. You can kind of get full on this kind of stuff, but at a certain point you realize, man,
if this is it,
then that's really, is this it? You know, this is what everyone aspires to. Well, no, there's got to be more, and there is more. Thankfully, God get to a point. He's so gracious and patient. He goes, yes. By the way, there is a lot more, and it's a lot deeper, it's a lot richer, and it's a lot more exciting, and it's a lot more real than what you've experienced thus far. And that's been our experience. As an experiment, you know, you meet marriages, different marriages, and you observe them, and you take the good, and you eat the meat, spit out the bones, I guess, is an old-fashioned saying. You learn from those things, and you learn from watching people be parents and that sort of stuff. But ultimately, we want to learn from God how to do this. And His ways are often really contrary to what we've been taught. And sadly, even certain things in the church that we feel we've been taught, which is interesting. But when we feel like the Lord's showing us something and wanting us to walk in it, we'll go for it.
Let's do that. Well, I was referring back to really the turning point. It was this one particular night that we had this just huge kind of conflict happen, and we were asked to pray, and we realized as we started praying, we were like, okay, it was more like praying before you would eat your meal. I mean, it was
we didn't really know how to pray in authority.
But it was this very serious situation that we were asked to pray about. And we were like, oh my gosh, both of us realized it at the same time. We were like, we actually don't know God very well.
We didn't know how to bring God into the situation because really and truly we didn't really know God.
Right.
We knew about him, and we pray, read good Christian books. I mean, I sang about him all the time. There was a certain level of love there for the Lord, of course, but the reality of God in our lives was lacking.
Yeah.
And we knew it in that moment.
And it shook us up. I mean, it shook us up. It definitely caused us to change our behavior in the sense that the next day we decided that we were going to wake up. I was thinking to myself, okay, we have everything, but we're missing something huge. And we were like, we've grown up in church and we do all the church stuff and we go to church and we're involved in little small groups and things like that. And we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing, but there's like a deep emptiness here and we both know it. So what are we going to do about it? And we're like, let's do the one thing that we have never done. And that was to actually spend time with the Lord, because we get so busy. Time is the very first thing to go. We all think it's a nice idea to have. When he's saying experiment, we're like, what if we actually did that? Like, not just talked about it, because our time literally every little piece of it is taken up. So what if we freed up this time and actually spent it with the Lord and build our relationship with him?
Mm-hmm.
Not just talk about it, because all of us know it's a great idea. What if we tried it? So that's the experiment part of it. And we're like, let's do it. And so we started the next day. We, got up and we're like, I don't even know. Let's just open our Bibles. Let's pray. Let's tell the Lord that we want more.
You know what? Let me stop you real quick, because to be completely honest, she started this practice before I did. She started doing that, and and here's me sort of just sleeping through the alarm. She started getting up and meeting with the Lord, kind of crying out to God, saying, God, meet me. And I watched that for, a couple of weeks, I think. And I thought, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this too. And I wish I could say it was me, just leading the charge, but it wasn't. She did. And I thought that makes some sense. And so after a number of months,
and it was good. We did it. And Phil he'd go in the dining room, I'd go in the living room, and we'd just fumbling through, no idea what we're doing, but just going, okay, Lord, I don't even know what we're doing, but I want, if you can be found, which you say you can be, so then let's go for it. And, let's try this experiment. What if you can be found?
Yeah.
Let's try it. It took us about 3 months, and this one day we met at the coffee machine. I remember this morning, I was reading, I don't even know exactly where I was reading, but all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, I'm reading the Bible and it's about right now in my life. This is about what I'm going through right now.
This is completely applicable to the life situation here and now.
This is speaking to me. And I had never read the Bible. I had read it in a way where, how you read a page and you have no idea what you read, so you try to read it again and you still don't know what you were reading. But I knew it was a good thing. But anyway, it started connecting with my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is I'm hearing from the Lord. This is what it means to hear from the Lord. Oh my gosh. So I go to the coffee maker and I was like, hello. I was like, it's working. I was like, yes, it's working. And he was like, I know. And so it was really cool, because on the same day he had the same click. And it just, from that point on, I was like, I couldn't wait it was more like I was being obedient to wake up and go, Lord, here I am. I want to know you. Show me stuff. But after that day, we were like, let's get up tomorrow and read and see what God has to say. And
it really fueled an appetite, this is okay. Let's keep doing this. What's God going to say to us tomorrow? It kind of sounds fruity when you think about it, but it's what he offers. He wants us to know his voice, and he wants to speak truth to us, and he wants to be specific with us
and fill ourselves with truth.
Yeah. And so we get up again this day and we keep doing this. And so, I don't know, we find ourselves 15 years on.
Yeah, we still, that's that. I would say if there's one little nugget of how to fix any problem in your marriage ever, it's this. It's going, you know what, we're not going to just talk about this. We're going to do it. We're going to put everything aside. We are going to wake up and we're going to just approach every single day going, Lord, I'm yours. I want what you have for me. I want to know what you have to say to me. I want to see what the things you want to show me. And then we come together every single day, literally. I'm like, this is, I'll say, what did you get? What did you get? Tell me what you got. And we'll share. We read the same thing. So we're approaching every day on the same page. It has changed I'm telling you, it's like this crazy, like, prescription for awesomeness.
And what's funny about it is it seems like something, like, to a lot of people, it's like, ooh, that's nice for them. I don't know if we can do that. You know, it's a little. A friend of mine just got an app on their phone to track how long they spend on other apps. You know.
Oh, interesting.
So the app will count how many minutes they're on Facebook, how many minutes they're Instagramming, how many minutes they're doing whatever. And it's kind of fascinating by the time it all adds up, you know. Yeah. So taking 20 minutes at the beginning of the day to meet with the Lord, just turning everything off, meeting with your Creator, who wants to meet with you. It's kind of not, it shouldn't be that kind of intimidating, but for some reason it is to us. And honestly, if earlier on in my life, I would have probably thought it was, but it's the one thing that I think we continue to encourage married couples to do, and it gets them on the same page, literally, and it just allows the Lord to get in the middle of it all and speak to him and speak to her, and then when you come together and you bring what it is that you both feel you're learning, it brings a greater revelation of what it is he's trying to say.
Well, and we always say too, it's like, if we truly believe that the two become one, do we really believe that, or do we just think it's a nice idea? Like, if you lived like you really believed it, that's kind of a different thing than a nice concept, you know? And so for us, we're like, if that's really true, if we are really one, we're two, but we're one, things that if Phil's spending time with the Lord and the Lord showing him stuff, and I'm spending time with the Lord and he's showing me stuff, and we come together and it's like, sweet.
Thank you, Phil and Heather, for sharing your story with us.
Oh, it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. And for our audience, I would just like to let you know that Phil has a new album out. And he's also back on tour with the Newsboys.
That's right. They're touring the country right now. He gets to sing his Zealand worship and then go up on stage with the Newsboys and sing some of your favorite hits.
Yes, it's so nostalgic. I remember being at one of his last shows with the band.
We've got some fun news.
Having a baby.
No. Well, if you call a book a baby. So
Yes.
I don't know if we can consider ourselves published, but we're in a published book.
Yes.
On Amazon.com.
Yes. Rhonda Stoppy. She's one of our past guests.
Mm-hmm.
She has written a new book, Real Life Romance. And Matt and I, are one of the featured couples in the book.
Page 125, chapter, I'm not sure what chapter, but I know it's page 125.
Mm-hmm. Is it 14?
I think so. So you can check it out. You can hear a little bit more about our love story. It's a really neat book. It's got lots of couples sharing their story of how they met, how they overcame trials in their life. It's kind of the book version of our Engaging Story podcast. And just check it out. We've got it linked up on our website, engagingstory.com. And while you're over there, you can learn more about Phil Joel, Zealand Worship. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast. We've got more episodes coming soon.
And you'll also need to go over to YouTube and check it out. We're going to have our episodes on there as well.
She's on a YouTube kick, folks. So please go watch. Give her a view.
Yes, soon we're going to have probably a new show. And you'll be able to see my beautiful face.
I'm putting that in.
I was hoping you would.
Okay.